Hey guys, so I got a Boss DD-3T, which is a continuation, according to Boss at least, of the DD-3 with the same circuit layout, with the same kind of delay sound that you should get from a DD-3 or a DD-2 in that case. It's a cost-reduced version of the DD-2, and it sounds cool. It's a 12-bit delay that you can buy new in 2021. As you heard from the opening, I compared it against the Carbon Copy Mini in bright mode, and the repeats were definitely more defined on the DD3, and I just kind of like the sound. I went ahead and plugged in a cable into the direct out of the DD3 so we can actually hear what just the repeats sound like by themselves without the dry signal affecting it. So I'll give you an example of that. Here's just a solid wave coming from the Minilog XD, and now we'll just hear the delayed. And as you hear when it fades out there and it does the repeats, it kind of gets more garbled. It gets noisier and so forth. There's a lot of reasons for that on this pedal in particular, and that's why I find it really charming. The interesting part about that is the entire feedback loop is analog. So what it's doing is it's converting the signal into digital, then converting it out to analog and back into digital through the delay loop instead of doing it completely in the processor per se, like newer pedals do it. And that just leads to some really nice warm-esque repeats, as people would call it, because there's frequency roll-off and all that. So that makes that pretty unique. The other thing is, I'm going to flash it up on the screen here, but it doesn't use a traditional DAC. It uses a resistor ladder network in order to convert the signal to analog. I found this in the service manual. And as you can see here, there's 12 outputs, which would designate the 12 bits that you get in the conversion. And that's just neat in itself. So if you hear people say, or you heard actual comparisons of the pedals, some of the older ones would sound slightly warmer in quote marks. I'm saying like noisier and things like that, and a little more rounded off, is probably because those resistors of today are much higher quality than they used to be, so they wouldn't drift as badly. So that's probably where the sound quality difference comes with the different generations of the pedals and just things like that. So yeah, I thought that was neat. Some other interesting things about it are the hold mode. Let me go ahead and pull out the direct out so we can hear the signal again. But the hold mode is cool. Let's do that. I'll switch it over to hold. I wish it would latch, unlike just holding down the button. But here's where it gets interesting. I can change the time of basically the delay of the clocking source for the delay while it's in the buffer. Let's go back to my harp patch, and that sounds even cooler there. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. I don't know how useful that would be, but I also wish that had the latching option, which it just doesn't. So pretty neat that you can still buy a 12-bit, in quote marks, lo-fi delay made by a reputable manufacturer, and it's not an expensive boutique pedal. It's just a standard Boss delay. It's not really worth it in my opinion, because there's just so many other pedals in the price point. It's like $143, and for $20 extra dollars, you could go ahead and get the DD-8. It's the 8 now, which has quite a bit more modes. I mean, it's not the traditional true digital delay. It's processor based, where a processor converts it all into a digital signal, and then it does, it uses an algorithm. This is more of a standard digital delay where the chip only does that one delay sound. But, the DD-8, for example, has tape echo style sounds. It has analog sounds. It has a warm sound, which, from what I understand, is modeled after the DD-2. So yeah, 20 extra bucks and you get true stereo out. This has 2 outs, but one's just a dry signal and one would be the wet signal. So it's not true stereo. The DD-8 has like panning and ping pong effects. And if you have something like the DD-500, which I also have, you can just use the vintage emulation, which sounds pretty close. I've been A and Bing those. Might do a video about that later, but yeah, no real reason to get it unless you were curious like I was and wanted something weird. And still, I mean, this thing's been made since 1986 and it hasn't changed much other than the tap tempo, and the component quality's probably gotten better over the ages. So yeah, thanks for watching.